I'm really excited to bring up our next and final storyteller who has reclaimed his tradition, reclaimed his history and tradition, and made it so that we can all enjoy it on national TV and here in the Bay Area. So please help me in welcoming Chef Tu David Phu.
I just want to say I'm incredibly humbled to be here. It's such an honor. From a kid from Oakland in a very underprivileged place, to be able to sit on center stage and have everyone's ears and listen to my story, I never thought there would be a day where I can have everyone's attention and listen to what I've been through. Excuse me. Also, let me add, I just want to say this. I always say this every time I'm in front of the stage. Self-made is bullshit. I guess the other half of the room is self-made. Let me explain. I am a product of when you invest in your community. I exist because I found safe spaces like this in my youth and my adulthood, and someone else, whether it's a community or organization, reached out to me and said, hey, you're doing a good job, or hey, we're gonna support you. So I wanna say thank you to Real Foods, Real Stories, Airbnb, Whole Foods, and everyone else that's invested in me and given me an opportunity just to speak. Because, to be very honest, completely opposite of Josie, and thank you for your truth, I didn't have those privileges. Let's get into the speech. This is about truth. I never used to tell the truth. I don't mean that I lied. I just mean that I never told people the whole truth. And that's something I learned at home. In 1975, my parents immigrated to the United States from Phu Quoc, Vietnam. Some of you know where that is. It's an island between Vietnam and Cambodia. A beautiful land with beaches and oceans. My family's from there, and we are free divers, which means we fish in the ocean using our hands. We dive deep into the water without any breathing equipment and catch fish. As a child, this is what I knew about my family, because this is what my mother and my father told me. My mother's an amazing cook. My life was made better by her food. She taught me everything I know. And so, as a child, here's what I knew. My mother was an amazing cook. My father's an amazing fisherman. They came to the United States in 1977. Also, I knew that I was born in Minnesota, but I lived in Oakland. And my mother is a seamstress, and my dad is a fishmonger at Pier 29. But also, I knew this wasn't the whole truth. My parents didn't just get married and immigrated to the US. They eloped because their parents didn't approve. In 1975, my dad was forced into the army to fight In 1975, my dad was forced into the army and to fight in the Cambodian-Vietnamese War. He witnessed things that he still doesn't speak of until this day. At the height of the American-Vietnam War in 1977, it fled to Thailand for their safety. My mother taught herself to cook in a refugee camp. We are refugees. This is why we are in Oakland. And my dad unknowingly had PTSD because of the war. It was often that he was angry or depressed. My mother turned the fish scraps that my father brought home into amazing meals. She learned to do that in the camps, but didn't say she was doing it because we were poor. We knew they weren't telling us everything, but my parents never talked about this. We knew they weren't telling us everything, but maybe to protect my sister and me. So I did that too. Oakland in the 90s was rough. I spent a lot of my time fighting, getting concussions, getting beat up. When my parents asked me about school, I said it was fine. Because if they could dodge bullets, I could dodge bullies. It was a childhood full of secrets and lasted through high school. And at times it was tough because we literally wouldn't talk to each other, except when we were in the kitchen. I would spend hours in there listening to everything because everything was a lesson in food that was learned through the lives they had lived. It was a hidden window into their world. This is how I started cooking. When I told my parents I wanted to go to culinary school, they didn't want me to go. And I didn't know why. My dad didn't say it was because he used to work in restaurants and people treated him like shit. My mother didn't say it because they didn't want me to work in, my mother didn't say it because they didn't want me to work with my hands. They didn't want me to be like them. And I didn't tell my parents why I wanted to go to culinary school. How when I sat in the kitchen at home, that's when I started learning about their lives. A life that I never knew. About how they fell in love. And how even though they were refugees, they were together. Or how my mother learned how to cook with anything in the camps, even when it wasn't considered food. This is why I wanted to cook. Because even though my parents didn't recognize it, I could see how our food changed their memories. The things we made in the kitchen were cumulative results of their lives. And what we made together was not depressing or dark. It was vibrant, colorful, full of flavor. It was their life transforming into something beautiful. It's now 20 plus years since I started cooking. I don't know what I've been if I hadn't done that. I might not mention the fact that we are refugees or be ashamed of my dad smelling like fish from his job. I don't know what my parents would be if I hadn't done that. Last year, we made a film about my family, and everyone told the truth. That wouldn't be possible if we didn't cook. Most of everyone in the industry has stories about why they're chefs. Similar to me, they talk about family kitchens, about inspiration, about being an artist, about traditions and preserving culture, creating identity. I tell the stories, but also say I started cooking because it was my way of being honest with myself and who I am. I started cooking because I found truth in food.